The circus that has been the fight for speakership amongst the Republican Party in the House has finally come to an end. Republicans selected Mike Johnson of Louisiana to be their new Speaker of the House. However, just before they picked him, everybody's favorite agent of chaos and unmitigated disaster in the Republican caucus in the House, George Santos, threw his hat in the ring. But he had to do it in true George Santos fashion. Take a look.
I have not done my job since I've gotten here. I can chew and walk gum at the same time. I can chew gum and walk at the same time.
I can walk gum and chew at the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, George Santos. And let's be honest, when it comes to George Santos, there is no shortage of content or things to talk about, so let's jump right into it. I'm Rayy Vana, and welcome back to Rebel HQ. Last week, George Santos was spotted in the halls of Congress carrying a baby. You can see that pictured here. George Santos does not have any children, so the reporter asked, "Is that your baby?" To which George Santos replied, "Not yet." Not yet? Not yet? What does that mean? Excuse me, Rayy Vana, is that your cat? Not yet. It's an absolutely unhinged thing to say, but believe it or not, what happened after this was even more unhinged. Because while George Santos was carrying this mystery baby, a reporter approached him and asked him to comment on the killing of Palestinian babies by the Israeli government. And the way that George Santos framed what happened to him is, like most of the things that come out of George Santos's mouth, a blatant lie. So first, let's take a look at the reporter asking the question.
Santos, what are you doing to stop the ongoing genocide of Palestinians?
Excuse me, do not record this baby.
What are you doing? We won't record the baby. What are you doing to stop the ongoing genocide of civilians in Palestine? What are you doing to stop the ongoing Yes, and many children are dying in Palestine due to Israeli war crimes. What are you doing to stop it?
Nothing.
Obviously, I need to point out that at the beginning of that clip, George Santos is showing the baby off and saying, "Look at this baby." And then once he hears the question that the journalist asked him, he says, "Don't record this baby. Don't record this baby." Now, this would have otherwise been a very innocuous interaction. Nothing that interesting happened there. George Santos walked away and didn't answer the question, aside from the fact that George Santos will apparently literally explode if he's not the center of attention for 5 seconds, because this is how he reacted about 20 minutes after this.
Next time he tries to accost me with a child in my hand, I want him out of here. He's an animal. I am holding a child. He is a terrorist sympathizer.
Who?
You can go look at the video.
Mr. Santos, who?
What happened?
Mr. Santos, who?
The gentleman back there is a terrorist sympathizer that has no business in this building. What is happening in Israel is abhorrent. What is happening to the people of Israel should not be defended. Nobody defending Hamas has any business in this building, whether you're elected, whether you're a civilian. It is a disgrace that we allow people to parade that kind of thought in here.
According to George Santos, that man approaching him to ask a question was accosting him. And apparently caring about the deaths of innocent children makes you a terrorist sympathizer. Fascinating, George Santos. So essentially what George Santos did was describe every child living in Gaza as a member of Hamas that deserves the horrific, brutal murders that they are suffering. George Santos, it's possible for your heart to break over the murder of children, whether they be Israeli or Palestinian. Apparently, though, it's not possible for his heart to break over the deaths of Palestinian children. And if you thought he was done lying there, you would be wrong, because he went on Steve Bannon's show to espouse even more egregious lies about this interaction.
What you saw there in that open of yours, Steve, was me reaching my tipping point when this man tells me, F that baby. What about the babies in Palestine? Are you kidding me? I don't care. Palestine and Gaza, they've been brewing hate and fomenting terrorism for decades. They breed hate.
Before we get into the insanity of him saying he does not care about Palestinian babies, we have to address the fact that he claims that that journalist in that clip said, "F that baby." Let me just play for you again what he actually said.
Santos, what are you doing to stop the ongoing genocide of Palestinians?
Excuse me, do not record this baby.
What are you doing? We won't record the baby. What are you doing to stop the ongoing genocide of civilians in Palestine? What are you doing to stop the ongoing kill? Yes, and many children are dying in Palestine due to Israeli war crimes. What are you doing to stop it?
Nothing.
At no point whatsoever in that about 20-second interaction that George Santos had with that journalist did the journalist say, F that baby. But George Santos did essentially say, F those Palestinian children. I need to remind you all that 50% of the population of Gaza is under the age of 17. Half the population of Gaza is children, and Gaza currently is being indiscriminately bombed by the Israeli government as of the time of recording this video, but I promise you by the time you're watching it, the number will be higher. About 3,000 Palestinian children have been murdered, and George Santos says, I don't care. I don't care. So what babies does George Santos care about? The ones he has made up. That's right, George Santos has recently claimed, while speaking to New York Times reporter Grace Ashcroft, that his niece was abducted by Chinese communists. I'm not making this up, but he most certainly is. Considering she was quite familiar with the many to the 10th degree lies of George Santos, obviously, Grace Ashcroft took that information under the assumption that it was probably also a lie. But she did what any good journalist would do, and she spoke with top law enforcement officials, all of whom told her that there was no evidence that he had a niece that was kidnapped whatsoever, let alone by Chinese communists. In fact, what they did say to her was, quote, I'd lean into, he made it up. Of course he made it up. This man is sick. He's lied about everything from his grandparents being Holocaust survivors, his mother dying in 9/11, him being black. And of course, he's facing 23 charges that range from aggravated identity theft to misleading the FEC. This man is a congressman, a sitting United States congressman who gets to make decisions over the laws of the land. Now, I need to note that members of his own party are expected to push to have him expelled from Congress, but that is a very high barrier to meet, and it's unlikely that it will be successful. So it's up to all of us, and especially all of you viewers who get to vote in his district, to make sure that this man doesn't get to peddle his lies on the floor of Congress come 2024.